Welcome to Zoom 952639667.
Tonita Gurley Giron.
Present.
Counselor David L. Romero.
Yes.
Counselor Barbara Casey.
Here.
Counselor Vincent Howell.
Here.
Counselor David A. Ulibarri Jr.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have a quorum.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Counselor Howell, would you do the moment of silence, please?
Thank you, ma'am. Moment of silence. Please keep in our minds and our hearts for all the people that have been affected by the natural disasters that we've been hearing about in Mexico and in Puerto Rico and Houston and also Florida and the Caribbean. Please pray for their families of all the ones that have been affected.
Thank you. Mr. Trujillo?
All right, next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Counselor Casey?
I'd like to move that we add executive session to the agenda right after item 10.
Hold on. After the presentation set.
Yes,
So you want to move executive session up?
yes.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the council?
Second.
Okay. There's a motion, there's a second, roll call.
Counselor Howell.
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much.
And now move approval of the agenda as amended.
Okay.
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
Counselor Howell.
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Continue.
Next item is the approval of the minutes for July 26th, July 31st, August 9th, and August 14th of 2017.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor,
Counselor Casey.
I move approval of the minutes as corrected, and I did send corrections to the city clerk already.
Thank you.
For July 26th, July 31st, August 9th, and August 14th, 2017.
Okay. Do we have seconds?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
Counselor Howell.
Yes.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Mr. Trujillo.
Yes, mayor's appointments or reports.
We do have none at this point in time with regards to appointments, but we do have some of the committees that we're still working on. I'm talking to some of the members to ensure that they continue to show up, and the committees, I believe, are running quite well at this point in time, and we should have them running even better by next month at the latest, and I will be bringing those appointments or changes, but I still have to talk to some of them. Some of them are still considering whether to stay on the committee or not. So once I get a definite answer, then I will come back to you, and that might call for a special meeting. If not, we can wait till the next meeting. No more. Next item?
Next item is mayor's recognitions or proclamations.
None at this time.
Next item, mayor and council, is public input. And first one is Bill Hendrickson. We'll be talking about EDC.
Madam Mayor, Council, Mr. Trujillo. I just want to talk about the EDC and some of our accomplishments and items that we're working on. We don't usually blow our horn too much, but I think it's time that we start doing this a little bit more often so we get it out into the public and that the council knows what we're doing. Since July, we have been awarded $132,000 in grants. First one was $5,000. This is for our airport marketing. We have a great collection of folks from the local community on an advisory committee, and we hope to use these monies to promote Las Vegas's airport at several of the upcoming air shows, the business aviation show, and so forth that are coming up in the next 6 months. We received $14,000 for the commercial kitchen, the La Cocina, and this came from Siete del Norte to support the operation of the kitchen for the first 6 months. You know, we're just starting to get some people to provide applications to the kitchen, so that should start showing some progress with folks in the community starting their new businesses at the kitchen. And we expect about 3 or 4 more to follow suit, as they have told us they're very interested in using the kitchen. And these monies will help run the kitchen, provide maintenance materials and so forth, and manage and pay for management of the kitchen for the next 6 months. We're receiving a $113,000 grant from State Economic Development, and this is for instituting a program called SolarWork. And this is going to be a great program for our community. It's initially designed to train and promote and place 18 people in new jobs here in the community. And these are remote jobs, so they could be working for some company out of Chicago, but they can stay here in our community and work. The only requirement is they have a broadband speed that's fast enough to accommodate the software and so forth that the employers will require. And if they can't do this from home, they can do this from the business hub that we've put into place. And also, we'll be working closely with Luna Community College and doing the training, setting up the training center, and possibly some workspace up there as well. With the SolarWork program, we hope, we anticipate to train more than the 18 people that we've contracted with the state to promote, to place. So we're looking forward to creating a workforce, a trained workforce that can look forward to good paying jobs. Everybody starts off around between $9 and $10 an hour on this program, and we will work with them to advance them. We've hired a director. She's a local person that's come back into the community, and she'll be starting on the 25th of this month, and our first class will be on the 18th. So I look forward to presenting you with how this program progresses.
I have a few questions. Who's going to administer those grants?
EDC.
EDC. And when did EDC receive the funding?
The $5,000 for the airport is a reimbursable, so we have to spend the money first and we get reimbursed for that. The $14,000 we've already received, received that towards the end of August. And the $113,000, we will be given $50,000. I've already submitted the invoice for that up front to get the program started. And then for every person that we place in a job, will be reimbursed to cover our expenses of $3,500 for the 18. That comes up for the $113,000. If we exceed the 18 during this time period between now and June, we can request more money from the state.
Okay. And how are you going to report this? On the 994?
We have a report that we have to provide to the state how we spend the money. Back to economic development. So we have to document who we hired, who we trained, how long, who they're working for, how much they're getting paid. There's a litany of items that we have to collect data on, all the people that come through this
And
program.
how much of this money has to go back into the community?
It goes back in the community for training, so it's being reimbursed to us for the training costs through this program. The only monies that get covered in this are the salaries for the director, which goes back into the community, and the people that we actually place. So there's no charge to the people other than a $50 application fee. The $3,500 covers the cost that we have to pay to other vendors for the training program.
And you will be keeping a log of all this?
Yes,
Okay, thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Next, we have Cindy Collins with the national campaign.
Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, city councilors.
Good evening.
I'm here just to remind you, I was here last week about the national campaign. It starts Monday. And this is for voting on social media for Las Vegas to win $150,000 for the E. Romero Hose Building as a museum. There are 25 contestants around the country. We're the only one in New Mexico. And they range from Cincinnati, Detroit, Steamboat Springs, Colorado, but we are the smallest. So because of that, we are determined to win. The top 10 vote getters received up to $150,000. And of course, we chose E. Romero because the National Trust for Historic Preservation wanted a project that not only needed historic renovation, but that meant something culturally to the community. And Main Street is spending $10,000 to promote this. We're doing billboards on I-25 between Albuquerque and Santa Fe. We're flyers, banner on Bridge Street. We're throwing a street party on October 6th on Bridge Street, and all the fire trucks will be parked in front of the building. We're going to project Easy Rider onto the white doors of the E. Romero building. Mariachis will play, and guacamole will be flowing, and hopefully TV crews come. We just think it's going to be a great event. And of course, the Seagrave, their 1937 Seagrave will be there. And Community First, lovely little vintage fire truck will also be there. In addition to that, New Mexico Main Street is helping us with another $10,000 for graphic design and marketing. We have a complete strategy of how this all rolls out. The Las Vegas Optic starts with an exclusive story next week, so watch for the Optic, and please go to Facebook and like the Main Street de Las Vegas Facebook. Share it with your children. As many shares as we get around the world will help us win this contest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all
Thank
your
you. Next, we have Wood Slick. Be talking about lodger stacks.
How are you, Mr. Slick?
There is an old adage that we are what we eat. City staff complain that there isn't enough gross receipts tax revenue coming in. Lodgers tax is the city's advertising budget. Spend it, and city gross receipts tax revenues increase. However, instead of spending lodgers tax, city staff leave 2/3 of each year's lodger tax collections unspent. 2/3. And for 2017, the city is contracted to advertise through Cisneros Design. But Cisneros Design says city staff have given no direction for spending the last $61,000 of the contract, with only 1/4 of the contract year left to go. That is not good news, but there is good news. Cindy gave it to you, so I will repeat it. Of all the cities in the United States, the National Trust of Historic Places selected the city of Las Vegas as one of 25 cities with the best historic projects. With a chance to compete as a finalist for 10 $150,000 prizes in a national contest won by the most votes online September 25 through October 31. The National Trust has allocated a huge budget to generate national publicity about Las Vegas as a contestant. Several state agencies in Main Street, Las Vegas have allocated $20,000 to help Las Vegas win $150,000. As a contestant with a small population base, city staff should at least match the $20,000 from State and Main Street if they want to have a big enough social media advertising budget to win $150,000. However, city staff with $200,000 of lodger tax unspent and with $61,000 of Cisneros marketing contract available, allocated just $3,600 in lodger tax. Such a puny amount is insulting to the National Trust, who has selected Las Vegas for this one-time national publicity opportunity. It is insulting to organizations providing $20,000 to help the city win $150,000. And most of all, it is insulting to Las Vegas businesses who benefit from the dollars spent by curious visitors this national publicity could bring to Las Vegas.
Time, Madam Mayor.
I don't know so much about the old adage. However, in advertising Las Vegas, the new adage, Mayor and City Council, is that you are city staff. Thank you.
Welcome to Zoom. 9, 5, 2,
Next, we have
3, 9, 6, 7.
talk about deputies.
You are in the Zoom meeting now.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm Joe Cavalco, representing Amnesty International 436, Group 436 of Las Vegas. We're here to ask you to reconsider your rejection of our resolution in July declaring Las Vegas as support for the cities in New Mexico which might resettle refugees. We sent a letter to you all. Hopefully it's on your desk, explaining our rationale, our position, our reasons for wanting to advocate for this resolution. But in summary, what it says is, while acknowledging that the Las Vegas area under present circumstances will not be asked to resettle refugees, nevertheless declares support for those cities in New Mexico which are eligible to resettle refugees. It is pretty straightforward, honest, and an honest sentiment of the citizens of Las Vegas. In fact, just this past month, we did a poll in Las Vegas, and we'll talk more about that later, but 85% of the people that took the poll, and there were 300 of them, said that indeed we should resettle 75,000 in U.S. cities. And it's not surprising, because the sentiment of the citizens that we polled, and I think the sentiments of the city, based on their tireless effort, okay, through their churches, missions, and universities and social services to support, right, refugees and others, okay, who are in need. This parallels the American response. Since 1975, over 3 million refugees have settled in this country. Such people as Madeleine Albright, the first woman Secretary of State under Bill Clinton, had Henry Kissinger, right, under Nixon, okay, was the Secretary of State, a refugee. Albert Einstein was a refugee. Billy Wilder, the playwright, actor Andy Garcia, and there are thousands of other refugees that are important, okay, to the very culture, to the very nature of our country. The list extends into the thousands. The U.S. is the wealthiest nation in the world, 20 trillion GDP, 30% of the world's economy. We are richer than the three largest other countries, China, Japan, and Germany. We could certainly support 50,000 refugees in this country. We only ask that you approve the revised resolution. And to reiterate, under present circumstances, we recognize that Las Vegas will not be asked to resettle the refugees. We believe our local government, should support that. In good conscience, support those cities in New Mexico. We look forward to your leadership in supporting this resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Bob Pearson.
I'm coming forward so that you all can see the poll that Joe referred to. We did this at the People's Fair. The question is, what should the U.S. government do about the
And those kind of heavy items.
about the global refugee crisis, where there are 22 million people who have had to flee their homes and are living in wretched conditions in refugee camps. And each person who passed by was given a penny, and they were asked to put it into one of the tubes to indicate what they thought the government would do. And you can see what the results were. This is what it was at the end of that time. 5% said we should do nothing. It's not our problem. Another 10% said we should give aid only for people living in camps, and 85% said that we should resettle 75,000 refugees in U.S. cities. And not a single person asked me when I was doing it whether or not they would come to Las Vegas. So we have over 250 people from Las Vegas who are in favor of resettling refugees in U.S. cities. This is contrary to the vote that was taken by the members of council 2 months ago. Who was right and who was wrong? As Joe mentioned, we have rewritten the resolution to take into account some of the misinformation that was presented to you at the meeting where you voted. We have further details on that if you want them. Also, we try to make it as clear as Joe read that we do not expect refugees to come to Las Vegas. They will be going elsewhere. The purpose of the resolution, there are several purposes. One is to commend those cities which do welcome, which are able to welcome refugees and have the infrastructure and the resources to do so and to resettle them and to integrate them into their community. A second reason is to send a message to our governor that her anti-refugee statements do not reflect the opinions of people in Las Vegas. And the third reason is to send a message to our legislators that we want them to work to try to increase the number of refugees that come to this country, because we are now at the lowest level that in the history of the refugee program, and the refugee program is being attacked by the administration. They are trying to spread fear of terrorism and of the economic impact. I think Pat will say something about the economic impact. As far as if someone moved into the house next to me that was a stranger, and I was concerned with my safety, I would hope that that person was a refugee, because that would be the safest person to have next to me. I really have difficulty in seeing any reason why you, as members of the council of the city of Las Vegas, should not give this revised resolution your wholehearted support.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Next, we have Rosalie Lopez. We'll be talking about the same topic.
Mayor, council members, and guests. I'm Rosalie Lopez, and I was here before about the refugee resolution. And I did bring letters and the resolution here and left it at the office. I think that the points that other people have made are all valid, but I think if you search within your heart and think about the number of people that are fleeing for their lives in other places and need a place to go, and many of these countries that they've gone to are just overwhelmed with the number of refugees there. And if the United States can take part of those and find settlement areas, if they can train them, if they can help with languages, if they can give them support with some of their own people that they have that can integrate them into our school systems and other things, then I think it's a valuable thing that we should at least consider supporting them. We're not going to have them here, and we know that. It's too bad that we don't have a lot of jobs, or that we don't have facilities, or that we don't have things that would make it welcoming for them. But we do have the ability to support the communities, and our state has always supported people that had needs. And it seems that if you think about the needs of these refugees, that it's almost overwhelming. And if we can do something to support the people that actually could do something for them, it's only a gesture, but it's an important one. And it's one that we're all proud of here in Las Vegas. So I'm hoping that the City Council will reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sonia Berg. Same topic.
Hello, I'm Sonia Berg. Madam Mayor and council members, thank you for allowing me to speak here today. When I spoke in August after I was not here when the vote was taken in July, but I was here last month, and I said I was flummoxed as to what caused the change in some votes that we thought were pretty solid. And I suggested that I would like to hear perhaps your reasoning. I have not received from the three that voted against it any indication of what changed your mind. So I'm just here again to support this revised resolution. I would like to remind you that this is only about refugees. It is not about immigrants. And we're not trying to make a sanctuary city here, because I realize that causes conflict with the federal rules now. But just to, as Rosie said, just as a gesture, and certainly from the heart, that we support these people that are being driven from their homes. They've lost everything. Many, if they go back there, they may be killed or abused through terrorism and all. So we, as members of Amnesty International and the community here in Las Vegas, ask that you take a second look at this resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have Pat Lehan. Same topic.
Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. I know it's hard when everybody is talking about the same thing, but I need to talk about this. The refugee resolution, bring it back, read it. If you had read it before, you would have known that it does not call for bringing refugees to Las Vegas. and it cost nothing to the city, not one single dime. So I'm thinking perhaps some of you didn't read it in full, and if you did, then you should share publicly with the community why you voted against it. You should tell us why you changed your mind and turned against the resolution you originally supported. I got one excuse from a city councilor for their vote when I asked. It sounded like BS. I was so disappointed. Telling the truth is such a rare thing these days. It's so sad. I wish I knew why you all really changed your minds. Please put the resolution on the city council agenda again, and do it soon, and vote a unanimous yes. And for those who will give public input about it, please read the resolution before you speak against it. Those who spoke against the resolution during the previous public input clearly did not read it. But perhaps they did read the significant, inexcusable error on the part of the editor of the Optic that this resolution was about sanctuary or immigrants, despite the presenters clearly saying that it was not. To a person, those who gave public input against the resolution had their facts wrong, every single one of them. And yet city officials were swayed by their testimony. I am so confused about what's really going on here. Now let's ponder this. Donald Duck ordered the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to do a study on the impact of refugees in the U.S. The report was completed in July. It was never released. Why not? Because the findings showed that refugees have a positive effect on the economy in the United States. Thankfully, someone recently leaked the report, and here is what they said. And by the way, advocates inside the administration say refugees are a major benefit to the United States, paying much more in taxes than they consume in public benefits and filling jobs in industries that the rest of us are not willing to do. Here's a direct quote from the report that the administration refused to release. The internal study found that refugees contributed an estimated $269.1 billion in revenues to all levels of government. That's federal, state, and local taxes that we benefited from. That's just one excerpt from the report just to give you the economic piece. We've all been wrong about our talking points. And by the way, the refugees are here legally. The U.S. government vetted them and brought them in. They're already here, and they're settled around the country and in New Mexico. And our state, including Albuquerque, is benefiting big time economically. It's significant. So show your economic support for New Mexico by revisiting and passing this refugee resolution. We're talking about 189 people. Have you met them? Get in touch with Global 505. We should have them up here. We're talking about terrible things that they've gone through. I find it shameful that this resolution hasn't passed already. I feel like I barely recognize the heart and soul of my city anymore.
Next we have Percy Gardner. Same topic.
Mayor and Council, I just wanted to add that I'm supporting the refugee resolution, and I hope you will revisit it, and I hope you'll vote yes. Because it's not going to cost the city a thing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next we have Yolanda Cruz. She'll be talking about the HIPRA.
I'd like to switch places with Carol Pearson. She requested that.
I'm sorry?
Carol Pearson?
If I could switch places with Carol Pearson, she was talking on the same topic you guys just.
That's fine.
Sorry.
Madam Mayor, City Council. I came to to Las Vegas in 1983 as a relatively new immigrant to the United States. I came with a clear impression of generous, compassionate Americans who, after the Second World War, sent direly needed food and clothing parcels to my family and to people throughout war-ravaged Western Europe. I found in Las Vegas a compassionate town. There were soup kitchens, people running Samaritan House, people serving on the Literacy Council, people coaching sports, a general acceptance of people who are mentally and emotionally challenged, people helping in the detention centre, many participating in Crop Walk, raising funds to combat hunger. I see the results in that penny poll. We have lots of challenges in Las Vegas, but on the whole, people try to make things better. They don't just sit back and sigh and say, "Not my problem." This compassion and involvement is what makes America great. People helping people. What could be the effect of your reconsidering this resolution? We know no refugees will resettle in Las Vegas, so why bother? I suggest to you that it's because this is the right thing to do. We all recognize that our humanity demands we do something in crisis like this huge present refugee crisis. We try to help in some way or another. We all know how we appreciate it when people say thank you and appreciate your efforts. So we need to let the people presently in Albuquerque know that we in Las Vegas are grateful to them. They're working especially through Catholic Relief Services and the Lutheran Family Services. We need to recognize their involvement in this big crisis, and this resolution would help to do that. Finally, another very important thing is that our involvement with this resolution helps empower our federal legislatures as they work in Washington, urging the country to take its share in the huge need for refugees resettlement, knowing that city councillors here in Las Vegas are behind them. Please reconsider.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next is Yolanda Cruz. We're speaking about HIPRA.
Thank you, and I want to extend a big thank you to the city council members who helped advocate on behalf of my parents in the issue with their curb. When we were going through this whole issue, I did send in a few IPRA requests for public information. I did receive a response that it would take a while to get the information together, and that I would hear back within 15 days. I never heard anything back. I'm not sure if the administration thinks that because the curb was repainted that I no longer need that information. I believe that there was IPRAs filed, sent in. I have a letter showing that those were accepted, received from the city, and they should be responded to under the law. So that's all I have to say. I just wanted to bring that to attention of the city council because I don't think that things should just be swept under the rug. On another note, I know that Pat said that they didn't need my help on this, but I really do think that after hearing what has been said, and hearing Councilman Howell's words of prayer for people around the world, that there is no way that we can bow our heads and open our hearts and pray for people around the world if we're not willing to open our arms. And supporting immigrants and supporting refugees and saying they are welcome here, even if they never choose to move here, we may not have anything to attract them. But it's one thing to say we welcome people, right? It doesn't matter. All races, all creeds, all colors. When we say that and really mean it truly from the heart, then it's different than saying, okay, well, we pray for you and we feel for you, but we don't want you. We pray for you, we feel for you, but we're not going to support you. That's really different. So I just want to speak on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cassandra, was that emperor request met?
I will certainly look into that, Mayor.
Thank you.
You do meet our.
Thank you very much.
Next is Joaquin Garofalo.
Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, councilors. I just hadn't been to a city council meeting in a couple months, and I wanted to really express my gratitude for this year's 4th of July event and fiestas. I thought they were an exceptional event by the city. The police department, the fire department, the city, everybody who participated, I thought they were, it was just fantastic. I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old that enjoyed watching the parade, watching the fiestas, the music, and it really is a premise in why we live in Las Vegas, because it is a wonderful small town community. And the fiestas, I felt, was the epitome of what we perceive as a great community to live in. And I thank you guys, I thank the city, everybody who participated. It was a wonderful experience. And I urge the city and our governing body to continue to be progressive in our processes. I have a 5- and a 7-year-old, and I look at their education and our schools here. We have great people, and people are pushing, and I just encourage this city to move forward in education. I've mentioned my vision of one high school, Las Vegas High School on the Guyanus River. There was an ad on Yahoo today about the nicest public high schools in the country, and I believe that we have the capacity to be one of those high schools, and I encourage us to move forward for the sake of my children, for the children in the community, and for the future of our community. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Mary Whiteman. We'll be talking about the refugees.
Hello. Thank you, Madam Mayor and councilors. I'm just here hoping you will reconsider this revised resolution and vote yes for it. I believe it's very important, not just in this community, but the way it will affect how these people are received other places in our United States. So, thank you. I ask for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have Lalo Sanchez.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Mr. Trujillo, first of all, I would like to thank you for supplying the Energizer batteries on that turtle for the material that was ordered for the drain grates. I thank you and I appreciate it. Too bad that the first order was never ordered. I have a concern about the cops, the police department. I went to the police department about 2-3 months ago, and I asked for some service to make a welfare check on a mentally handicapped individual, and they refused. They told me, are you the husband? Are you the father? Or are you the landlord? And I said, nope. I said, well, then we can't do anything about it. Too bad that I'm not the chief of police or the city council or the director of Mr. Trujillo, city director, because I would have fired those 2 cops, 2 individuals. I would have fired them on the spot for refusing service. They were supposed to check on an individual that's mentally disabled, and they refused. I didn't approve of that at all whatsoever. That's really a shame and a disgrace, I think. Crosswalks. This is a safety concern for all of pedestrians. We don't have any crosswalks anywhere really except along the schools. But crosswalks is a safety zone for all pedestrians and students. They don't cross just from the school to across the street. They walk all over the city. If crosswalks were painted all over the city, not only would it be safety for pedestrians, but it would also beautify the city and maybe even attract other people from without to come in and come see the city so pretty. I think that would be a great improvement for the city of Las Vegas. Code enforcement apparently doesn't want to do anything about anything. we've been complaining about a property on North Gonzales on the 2500 block for the past, I would say 8, maybe 10 years since Mayor Sanchez was the mayor, and they don't want to do anything about it. They've been saying, code enforcement keeps saying that they're going to take it to court and they're going to do this and they're going to do that, but they don't do anything about the property. The property still looks horrible right there on North Gonzales, and nobody wants to do anything about it apparently because it belongs to the Martinez family. And I think that's also a shame that nobody wants to do anything about it on account of that.
Where is this located?
That's on the 2500 block of North Gonzales, right behind the Napa Auto Parts. And that property needs to be cleaned up. There's, it's also a shame that
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Ulibarri over here, our representative for District 1, I don't know if he doesn't care about our district or what, but I was cruising around on Cavanaugh Street, north of New Mexico, and it's totally a shame of the way the weeds are higher than a person right alongside the sidewall. There isn't even any sidewalk, but I mean, it's a shame that nobody pays any attention to our community, and I think they should. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That concludes our public input, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much.
So next item on the agenda is presentations not to exceed 10 minutes. We have a presentation by Abby Anger and Robert Gonzalez, who are seeking sponsorship to the benefit of Salute to the Troops concert and dance on Sunday, September 24th, 2017.
Madam Mayor.
Good evening.
Council people, thank you for having us. My name is actually Abby Sanger, not Abby Anger, so I thought that might be important to clarify.
What is it
I'm not
again?
angry. Abby Sanger, S-A-N-G-E-R. Close enough. It works. I asked my husband if I should show up angry. He said no. We are very excited. We are doing a Salute to the Troops event. This is our 4th annual show. The previous 3 years were held in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But we actually just moved back to New Mexico, and Gonzalo said, can we please do this in my hometown? I want to honor the 720th. I want to bring something to the city of Las Vegas in the fall that's an outdoor event, that's not the fiestas, it's not the bike rally, open to all ages, and really just a huge thank you to the active and retired military servicemen and women. And so we approached City Manager, Mr. Trujillo, who jumped on board and said, yeah, let's try to get this done. Let's do what we can. Because of the short time frame, unfortunately, we are low on funds, and that is what brings us here today. We appeared in front of the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board. The Lodgers Tax Advisory Board informed us that they were very supportive of the event. At the time that we presented, they hadn't gone over their budget yet, so they weren't 100% sure what their funding was or what was available. And they also advised us that they're actually just an advisory board. They can't give money, they can't take money away. So they suggested that we come and speak with you this evening and see if there was any Lodgers tax funds available to help support our event. I looked at the Lodgers tax code just to make sure that this event fit into the parameters that can be funded. Because this is an open event, it's open to the public, and it has been posted on Facebook and advertisement has gone crazy. We actually have people coming from all over the state of New Mexico, as far as Las Cruces, Silver City, people from all over Albuquerque. As far as Cheyenne, Wyoming, it was my understanding, there's actually a group of 35 who have made reservations and have taken over an entire hotel to come for this event. And the hotel is booked on the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of the event, which is very exciting. We have people coming from Colorado, northern, southern, all over Colorado, and of course the great people of the city of Las Vegas seem to be very excited. I've had people calling me and asking me how early they can get there to put their chairs on the lawn. My response is, let us get our vendors in first, please. But people are like, so 9 o'clock, 9:30, 9:32. So we know that people are going to definitely come out and support. As of this point, we have raised approximately $4,200, most of that coming from sponsorship as well as vendor fees. So we do have 8 local vendors. Actually, 2 people are coming from out of town, but otherwise all the vendors are local. The vendors' fees support our event. We also have had Southwest Capital Bank make a large contribution, the We Care Agency, and then personal donations even from Mr. Vince Howell, so thank you. And at this point, we have raised about, I believe the total number at the end of the day was $4,600. Unfortunately, the event cost $8,000 to put together. That includes insurance. Insurance was definitely our biggest expense. Sound and advertising are really the event expenses that we have. All the artists have donated their time. That includes Darren Cordova y Color, that includes 45, Gonzalo, and Banda Alegre, as well as True Wild Country. My apologies. So that's fantastic. If they had charged us, this event would cost well into the $30,000 range. So thank goodness that they have donated their time. But ultimately, no matter what the event is happening, we're just asking to, whatever we don't make comes out of our pockets personally. So any help from the city to make this event a possibility that we don't have to come out of pocket, I think at this point we're under about $3,000.
Thank you. Any comment? You're going to open it up. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, I believe we need to go into executive session, is that correct? Yes, I need a motion to go into executive session.
Madam Mayor, I move that the council convenes into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters as permitted in Section 10-50-1 H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Olivetti Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
We shall move into executive session. I need a motion to reconvene into regular session.
Madam Mayor, I move that we reconvene into regular session after having met in executive session to discuss personnel matters and personnel matters only. No decisions were made under pursuant to personnel matters as permitted by section 10-15-1, H2 of the Mexico Open Meetings Act and MSA 1978.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
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 Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Luzetti Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero and Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Mr. Trujillo?
Madam Mayor and members of the council, next item is the city manager's report. At this time, I'd like to call up Joaquin Guacalo. He's going to be presenting the recommendations on the lodger's tax.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, governing body, councilors. My name is Joaquin Garofalo, and I'll be speaking on behalf of the Lodgers Tax Board. We, the Las Vegas Lodgers Tax Board, would like to thank the governing body for trusting in us to make recommendations in regard to a budget with funds from the lodgers tax. We understand the importance behind this, and we consider it to be very serious business. We apologize for the delay in this recommendation, as we would have hoped to have gotten it to you before the end of the fiscal year, and we intend to do so in the following year to come. We were waiting for accurate numbers, and we thank Anne Marie from the Finance Department for providing those numbers to us. We as a board intend to work diligently and aggressively to be as productive as possible in order to serve as required of us. We intend to come before the governing body after our next quarterly meeting in October and recommend a detailed allocation of funds within the parameters of the percentages in which we recommend today. We really wanted to get something to the council, and that's why we created a percentage recommendation at this time, and we'll get into it and be more specific in the future. We've also voted not to renew the Cisneros contract that expires on 12/31 at this particular time. We recommend that we wait on any type of renewals, and this is subject to us providing a detailed recommendation in the near future about any additional contracts on Cisneros. We recommend the city continue to use and maximize the remaining contract with Cisneros through the end of the year. They are a great facility, a great resource, and we should maximize them through the end of the year. We also recommend that the city continues to utilize Main Street and any other organization that helps bring heads and beds and money to the lodgers tax. At this time, we have broken down the budget and percentage allocations. With a current budget of approximately $235,000, we recommend 20%, which is approximately $47,000, to be used in the nonprofit sector for advertising and bringing tourism in. We recommend 20%, approximately $47,000, to be used on services and creative services, may it be contracts or art or any other type of services to get Las Vegas's image and name out there. We recommend 20%, approximately $47,000, to be used on capital improvements for the direct purpose of driving tourism. And we recommend 40%, approximately $94,000, to be used on specific ad placement, print, billboards, or any other type of ad that will drive heads and beds into the city of Las Vegas. We again thank you, Madam Mayor, governing body, for entrusting in us to make a recommendation on regard to the Lodgers Tax Board.
Thank you. I believe that there is a requirement that the lodgers tax should or must have a reserve. Is that correct? If not, is Anne Marie here? Oh, there she is. Okay.
I didn't. Go ahead, Anne Marie.
There's a requirement as to the percentages that must be spent on advertisement versus other types of services that are allowable, and that comes out to, for the bracket that we're in, 7/16 must be direct to
Advertising and
promoting
tourism,
events of tourism type. Specific services. Also authorized are providing police and fire protection and sanitation service for tourist-related facilities, attractions, and events located in the respective municipality. I'm just mentioning that because of the earlier request from the presenters of this weekend's event. I think that much of their outstanding bill may be from our Public Works Department and some of the overtime there that the city is asking.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is great.
Can we ask some questions?
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Garofalo, thank you for doing this presentation. Have you given recommendations to the manager in regards to how we're going to use the, $61,000 that are left in the Cisneros contract before they leave?
We have not given that recommendation at this time. As far as we have been informed, most of that $61,000 has been allocated to a specific item as of now. In particular, there's some website maintenance that takes a monthly toll. Some of that 61 is allocated to that. A number of other maintenance and up-to-date items that continue to go through. As far as we are aware, that $61,000 has been allocated for something specific in regards to that contract. Now, we intend to revisit Cisneros, and it was brought to my attention perhaps at our next meeting to see if there is in fact any resources left within that contract that we can make a recommendation on. But as far as we are up to par, or our knowledge is, that it has been allocated.
If you recall, Councilor Howell, when the Cisneros contract was approved, if you read the entire contract, it tells you exactly what the deliverables were and what the city would be, the scope of work for them to be tied into. It's all in there.
Okay. Now, these percentages that you have listed here.
Yes, sir.
Are they for this current budget that started July 1?
Yes, they are.
Okay, because I was under the impression that it was going to start when the new budget year comes into place.
Well, the new budget year did start July 1st, and I had started the presentation with our apologies without a recommendation, only because we hadn't had accurate numbers until this point. Now, out of those numbers and the 235,000, some monies have already been allocated, and this is what's remaining. And if you took an approximate $300,000 budget, there was money in this fiscal half that will be allocated that is already committed to Cisneros. There was also monies that was matched for the Main Street grant out of this fiscal year's budget, and this was the remaining balance. Now, it's also, I don't know if you want to say it could be conservative. I mean, really, it's a projection, so we're making a budget on projection of heads and beds and what type of funds come into the account. Now, in a great scenario, there will be a reservoir, a percentage left over, a carryover that can be reallocated in the year to come. Now, because of our delay and the time that it took us to create this budget, we really are going to put emphasis and focus on creating an 18-19 fiscal year budget to be very clean and very precise. This had a little bit of carryover from Cisneros from 16-17, 17-18. That contract had a balance carried over and utilized some of the funding. So for 18-19, we really hope to be utilized as a tool and are capable of making a specific recommendation. As far as these percentage allocations go, in October, we would like to sit down and really dissect those allocations and be more specific and give an additional presentation to the City Council on a recommendation on how to spend them. But you get a lot of requests, there's a lot of input that comes in, and we thought that the priority was really just creating an outline with that percentage, just to give all of us a direction on how to spend it versus too much in contract services or whatever it might be. And this was the opinion of the board to break it up in these percentages with an emphasis on ad placement for visibility. I mean, we want to be seen in Las Vegas. We want everybody to know who we are and where we are.
Right.
And that's where we see the advantage of ad placement.
Right. So, Madam Mayor and members of the council, these percentages, we're going to give these percentages to Cisneros. We want to make sure that the dollar amount is correct when we do this kind of percentage on what he has to do to set it up. So we're going to have a lot of dialogue with Cisneros and with the input from the Lodgers Tax Board.
Awesome.
So there'll be a lot of going back and forth of as far as, well, did we put in a high enough percentage or the dollar amount? So all that has to be discussed.
Is the, just for clarification purposes, are we going to not renew the Cisneros contract?
Well, the Cisneros contract expires on 12/31/17, period. Now, as far as renewing and or engaging in an additional contract with Cisneros, that is still on the table and open for discussion.
And that's what you were talking about, Mr. Manager. Okay.
And that's what we as the Lodgers Tax also see a lot of benefit, but we just would like to see it, the deliverables in a specific direction.
Okay. I just had two more.
Sure.
At the meeting, Councilor Casey and myself were at the meeting.
Yes, sir.
The question that was asked there, but it wasn't answered, is why is there always a rollover? And I don't think that question was answered. I think Ms. Gallegos just came in, and I don't know if that question was asked to her when she came in. If I may ask her?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, what happens in many cases, and it's a good thing, we normally budget a budget of 300,000. Now, if something comes over the 300,000, that's wonderful because that's with the Lodgers Tax, but it gets, of course, carried over to the following fiscal year. The other things is that there isn't any extendables, such as maybe something in payroll, maybe something happened and someone was out on leave or maybe left the city. There was a time frame where you don't fill those positions immediately. Then there's a little bit available there. And so Joaquin and I worked with those and we were able to identify some of those resources and some of the resources that get carried over. So anytime in March and April, we start looking at those numbers. And if there is anything that's carried over, that's because we've exceeded the budget, which is a good thing for us.
Just another clarification. Are you saying that Lodgers Tax funds will be able to pay for payroll?
Well, just in the, I'm sorry.
For the visitor center.
For the, okay.
Right.
Visitor center. Okay.
Yes, that's the only.
Okay.
And in a great case scenario, if we have exceeded our budget and have brought in additional revenues, then once again, we could utilize that the following year. We came into this committee a little bit late in the process. I believe that we convened in December rather than in June of last year of 2016. So we hope to be more precise and utilize those taxes as well as we possibly can recommend in this future year coming up. And it's really 18-19.
Okay. My last question. Did you want to say something?
Madam Mayor, if I may, just to add to the question of a reserve or of a carryover, the funds do need to be spent within 2 years of them being taxed to the lodgers.
And I believe what we do is we recommend the spending of the carryover first and then allow the carryover to carry over so that we aren't in jeopardy of losing those funds.
So you can encumber the fund prior to the closeout. Exactly.
Since you have really perused the budget and identified what you're going to use it for, did you give a recommendation on the Gonzalo concert?
We did not discuss it as a board, and I could not speak for the board as a whole on this topic.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, Counselor Casey.
Thank you.
Well,
Madam Mayor,
yeah.
when we reviewed the Cisneros contract for renewal last year, there were several deliverables that had not been done. And I asked why they hadn't been, and Mr. Cisneros said that it was because there was not enough money allocated. The $200,000 that we were paying him on the contract was not enough to cover some of those deliverables. And I asked at that time if we could revise the contract so that it wouldn't show those deliverables because they're never going to get done if we don't have the money. And that was not done. So I'm saying it now in open session in front of Mr. Garofalo so that he knows that if and when we do review a contractual agreement with the Cisneros firm, that we make sure that there is nothing on the contract that is going to go over that dollar amount and it's not going to get done. So it shouldn't even be on the contract because what we have right now is not a clean contract. And I would like to see that if we are going to renew his contract, that contract is a clean contract, and if there is enough money to cover what those deliverables say they're going to cover.
I believe in response to that, Councilor Casey, that we had made it clear that we were going to utilize Cisneros contract as needed. And we paid them from the actual contractual tie that we committed to the actual contract from that. If we didn't need them, then we don't pay them.
Right.
So I think that was clearly identified during that meeting.
And in lieu of all these discussions in regard to Cisneros, we really feel like our percentages are very appropriate along the lines of how they can be used. And once again, on the topic of deliverables, we emphasize 40% and ad placement as the largest sum of money being used as we move forward in this year. We feel like that's an ad placement is a deliverable that people could quantify through vision, and we put a lot of emphasis on that.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the Lodgers Tax. I appreciate you, and I appreciate the Lodgers Tax members. I know you are taking, all of you, this Lodgers Tax Board in a different direction, and I applaud you for doing all the work you do.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, governing body. Thank you, City Manager.
Take care. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Next, I have Mr. Poole to give an update on AWC.
Thank you, City Manager.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor and Council. My name is Marshall Poole, and I'm on the board of the Animal Welfare Coalition, which has the city contract and the county contract to run the animal shelter. A few news items from the Animal Welfare Coalition. We recently brought in a mobile veterinary surgery van, complete with the veterinary surgeon. And over one weekend, we spayed or neutered more than 60 dogs and a few cats for good measure. The surgery was free to citizens or for a small donation. And we prioritized dogs and cats that had recently surrendered unwanted litters. So from that one weekend's work, we figure we have 60 or more fewer unwanted litters per year just from that one weekend's work. The whole operation was paid for by a grant from the American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, ASPCA, and Animal Protection New Mexico. We also paid to send another city animal control officer to a week-long training and certification to improve his professional skills. He's actually at that training this week. We recently added 3 new members to our board of directors. Donna Rivas, who among other things is president of the Arts Council. Troy Dennison, who's manager of the Best Western, the Days Inn, and the Nights Inn motels here in Las Vegas. And Dr. Roxanne Gonzalez, who is the new vice president and provost at Highlands University. We continue to have, and we're proud to have, a better than 91% live outcome rating. And what that means is that if an animal arrives at the pet center alive, it has a better than 91% chance of getting adopted in a safe adoptive home. The few exceptions are animals that are so injured that they simply will not be able to recover and have a humane life. The other exception is animals that are so aggressive that they just cannot be socialized enough to be safely placed with a family. So our 91% live outcome rate is very high for New Mexico, especially for smaller communities and more rural communities. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Trujillo.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Next item on the agenda is the finance report.
Okay, thank you.
Anne Marie.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Trujillo. In front of you, we have the finance report for the month of August 2018, 2017, excuse me, for the 2018 fiscal year. As you see, as you can see, we are right on target at 16%. It hasn't changed. We're hoping that we can maintain these percentages and continue to bring in our revenue as we've expected and as we planned. In our expenditures, the same thing, we're at 16%. You'll notice on the general services, we had a 19% increase in expenditures, and that's because we were able to pay our property, our liability, and our workman's compensation insurance. And that was for the first 6 months of the year. The next one will be paid in, I believe, in January. And so you'll see another expenditure. On the revenue piece, we won't see any large increases possibly until December or January when we bring in our property taxes. And so we'll be looking for those and seeing how we best measure those. And with that, I'll entertain any questions on general fund.
Questions, comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The next one is the Recreation Department, and they're at 15% in their revenue, as well as 15% in their expenditures. Their biggest expenses, their employees, and Ms. Marujo and City Manager have been working on that and seeing how we can minimize some of those costs. But we're going to continue, she has continued to bring in her revenues, and we'll just keep measuring them and seeing how best we can do any additional. I know City Manager has been working with different events, and I believe there's an event this weekend. It's a 3-on-3 tournament at the rec center, and so she's continuing to schedule as many events as she can for the rec center. In the enterprise funds as well, they receive 15% of their revenues, and that's partly because of the gas. The gas won't be coming in until for another couple of months, the gas revenue. And the expenditures that are actually at 15% as well. We haven't seen anything big or any kind of different expectations than what we had expected before. We're continuing to look at some of the utilities and some of the buildings, and so if those have a bigger impact on any of these enterprise funds, then we'll bring it back to Mayor and Council.
I have a question. On the Recreation Department expenditure comparison, the 41%, although it levels off at 40%, what is the 41% for under capital outlay?
That's for capital outlay, and that was for equipment that she needed to start the year for the swimming pool. Am I correct?
Right.
Yeah. It was for the swimming pool, and those are the expenditures that we did at the beginning of the year.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions, comments? Councilor Hall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Trujillo. Ms. Gallegos, we did get our budget approved, correct?
Yes.
And also the amendment to the budget, correct?
There wasn't an amendment. It was a budget that was approved by mayor and council and then submitted to GFA.
Oh, we didn't submit an amendment to the,
We didn't have to, we made.
We didn't have to.
We didn't have to.
We met the deadline.
the adjustment?
Yes.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
an adjustment.
It was an
transfer and
adjustment?
transfer
Okay,
out.
all right. So, in regards to the staffing of the police now, are they able to hire the two officers?
I'll defer that question over to city manager.
Mr. Trujillo?
At this time, they did hire the vacancies. I will be meeting with the chief on the other two.
Okay.
They're looking at their budget as far as a lot of the new officers coming on board and that, and the expenses. So we really need to look at that.
Okay.
But it was approved by mayor and council.
What kind of expenses are there in hiring a new?
I think the chief could answer that.
Yeah.
Chief?
Some of the expenses incurred when we hire somebody is initially, it's to get them equipped, to get them police uniforms, all their gear that they need. The other thing that we do provide, and it's a requirement by state statute, is for us to send our new recruits for physicals and for psychological exams. The physicals and psychological exams are pretty costly in this process, so those are some of the other costs that we incur when we hire new personnel.
And do you have the budget to do all that?
Currently, we have the budget to fill the positions. We may have to, like the city manager advised, we may have to sit down and do some figures, but as of right now, professional services, we do not have enough funding to
What about outfitting the officers?
As far as the clothing allowance, we are going to have enough for the clothing allowance, and we're able to equip the 5 that we just hired. But any future, if we end up losing personnel to, I know state police is going to be doing another lateral academy in March. If we do lose funding there, or we do lose officers there, we might not have sufficient funding to be able to fill those positions and get the needed tests and so forth required by state statute.
But you do have the funds to do the psych eval and outfit the officers that you're hiring right now?
For these ones, yes.
Okay.
If we do come across the loss of police officers to other agencies, we may not.
We may not. Thank
See,
you.
those projections have to be handled prior to the budget closeouts. And that means that is the responsibility of the police department to do so. The transfer in and transfers out, I believe that you might have to look at those and determine from there what it is that you might have to sacrifice in order to meet the needs of these staff. And I'm sure you understand that.
Yes.
Correct? Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, what does that mean, what you just said?
You didn't understand what I said?
No.
Okay. That means that every time that we are doing the budgets and reviewing the budgets, it is up to each director to sit down with the finance director and the city manager and determine what they're going to need to make sure that they have an efficient working budget. So it's up to them to plan where they need that money. If they don't have the money and they have money available in other line items, then it's going to be their responsibility to either transfer in or transfer out the money necessary to balance their budget and pay what they need.
Okay,
Do you
so
understand that?
the administration is not cutting their budget?
No, we didn't cut their budget. That's obvious. We made that clear. The only budgets that got cut was every budget except the police department.
Okay.
Okay? Shall we move on?
Did we answer your questions, Mr. Hahn?
Well, I'm just, if they're not having enough funds to outfit their new hires and to send them to psych evals or whatever the chief had just mentioned, I'm sure those items were in their original budget.
Yes, they were.
So are they not there now?
Yes, of course. They're there now. They've They are doing their evaluations, the professional development. They're taking their professional development for their psychological reviews.
Right.
And their physicals. They have dollars in there for their uniforms. And so what Madam Mayor was saying was if there isn't enough budget later on in the year, there is budget
good.
this year, but if there isn't enough later on in this year, then what happens is the police department or whatever department it is starts looking to see where they have additional revenues, additional monies that they're not going to be utilizing, and they'll just move it on to the line item that they need.
Okay, so they're not cut, their budget is not cut right now?
No.
We have, no, it was adopted by mayor and council and then by DFA. That was the budget.
And for the record, the budget was not cut.
No, it was not.
Not
Madam Mayor,
cut.
I apologize.
Making sure everybody's clear. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I beg to differ because when we were doing the budget review, the police department budget was a decrease from last year. It was 224,000 plus. So that's a cut.
What was that again?
So just my comment. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Shall we move on? Any other questions?
I don't think Anne Marie heard what you said.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Councilor.
I just said that when we reviewed the budget the first time, there was a $224,000 plus cut to the police department over last year. So for it to be said that there were no cuts is not accurate.
Those 224,000 were the additional payroll and payroll costs associated with it. It was a 27 pay period that we have. That it's very abnormal for us to have, but we did have it, and it did occur last year. And so we wouldn't fund another full payroll if we didn't. And there was no way. I don't know if you've seen the letter from DFA. I think all of you received the letter. If we go on and we expend all of the budget that we currently have and that we budgeted, we'll have $1 left at the end of the year. And so that is going to be an issue and something that mayor and council will need to address.
Thank you. So was that clear, Councilor Casey?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, nothing was cut. Very good.
Okay, next item is the consent agenda. And there was, how many? There was 13 consent items.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Casey.
I move approval of the entire consent agenda and request that the city clerk read each item into the record proper.
Thank you.
Certainly, Councilor. Consent agenda, item 1, approval of resolution 1735, 2019-2023 Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan, ICIP, for the City of Las Vegas Senior Center. Item 2, approval of resolution number 17-33, Budget Adjustment Resolution. Consent item 3, approval to award RFP 2018-03, Professional Engineering Services to include grants, consulting, planning, design, and engineering services for the City of Las Vegas Public Works Department, Municipal Airport to Moles and Corbin, and enter into contract negotiations. Consent item 4, approval of resolution number 1732, supporting the Federal Aviation Administration FAA grant agreement, LVS-17-02, and sponsoring match funds. Item number 5, approval of grant application through the Department of Public Safety for the Las Vegas Police Department. Consent item 6, approval of grant application through the New Mexico Attorney General's Office for the Las Vegas Police Department. Consent item 7, approval of grant application through the Department of Justice for the Las Vegas Police Department. Consent item 8, approval to accept state funds through the Department of Finance and Administration. Consent item 9, approval of grant application through the Walmart Foundation for the Las Vegas Police Department. Consent item number 10, approval to purchase a Camel 900 sewer catch basin cleaner truck. Consent item number 11, approval of resolution number 1730 for drinking water loan number 3624- drinking water for the cabin site tank rehabilitation. Consent item 12, approval to award request for bids number 2018-4 for Clarafloc C358 Palmer for the water treatment plant to Polydyne Incorporated. And consent item 13, approval to award request for bids number 2018-5 for liquid aluminum sulfate for the water treatment plant to Chemtrade Chemicals US LLC.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Olivetti Jr.?
Yes.
Have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivetti Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Let's move on.
Next is our business items. Number 1, conduct a public hearing and approval or disapproval to adopt ordinance 17-10, amendment to the official zoning map for property. Maria Perea will present.
Madam Mayor, if we may go into public hearing.
Need a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Olivetti Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Have a motion by Counselor Howell, a second by Counselor Olivetti Jr. and Counselor Casey. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam
Good
Mayor,
evening, Mr.
councilors. My name is Maria Perea.
Oh, wait a minute. We need to swear you in, Maria, before you start.
Anyone who wishes to speak on this item, please come forward. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name for the record.
Maria Perea.
Joe Coca.
Swear to tell the truth
Swear to tell the truth
during my testimony to council tonight.
during my testimony to council tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor,
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, councilors. My name is Maria Perea. I'm the Planning and Zoning Coordinator for Community Development Department. This is Mr. Joe Coca. And tonight I am requesting the approval or disapproval of ordinance 1710, which is to rezone property located at 2307, 2309, 2311, and 2313 Dahlia Street from an R2 multifamily residential zone to an R3 mixed family residential zone. Mr. Coca owns this property and he leases it or may sell the property. And right now, he's got 3 of the lots occupied with double wide homes, and he has a 4th applicant that would like to place a single wide mobile home on the property. That's why he's requesting the rezone.
Questions, comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Perea, was there any rejections from neighbors?
We only had, at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, we had one neighbor come in, and he recommended we approve it.
Okay.
And if you go by the area, it is generally mostly single wines in that area. We've already rezoned his other lots facing Encino Street. All of those are rezoned R3. Up on Dahlia Street and up there, most of those have been rezoned to R3. And
Okay. Now, how many people, when you posted the information, was there a lot of participants coming to you?
I think we did
Except for just
13 notices, and only one person showed up at our Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay. If there are no other questions, I need a motion to accept the record proper.
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept the record proper.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Olivetti Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Howell and Counselor Romero. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. I need a motion to close the public hearing and reconvene into regular session. So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Second. Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivetti Jr.?
Yes.
Have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero and Counselor Olivetti Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor,
Counselor Casey.
I move that we approve the ordinance 17-10
amending the official zoning map for the properties listed.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
Yes. Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero and Counselor Olivari Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you guys very
Thank you,
much.
Mr. Coca. Thank you, Mrs. Maria. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Coca. Thank you, sir. Next item under the business is number 2, approval or disapproval of resolution 17-36 to donate a 2008 Ford Ranger hotshot truck to the Village of Eagles Nest Senior Center. And Pamela will be.
Good evening, Mayor and City Councilors. We're here to present a resolution 17-36 for approval to donate a 2008 hotshot truck to the Village of Eagles Nest. They're in need of a 4x4 vehicle for the winter months, and we no longer utilize this vehicle or need this vehicle due to the fact that we just received 5 new hotshot trucks for our senior center. And so we are just requesting approval to donate this to the Eagle Nest community for their senior center.
Thank you. Questions, comments? No questions? What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor,
Counselor Howell.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution 17-36 to donate a 2008 Ford Ranger hotshot truck to the Village of Eagle Nest Senior Center.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Howell, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Maruja.
Thank you.
Next item.
Next is item number 3, approval or disapproval to appoint Renee Garcia as Community Development Director.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor,
Counselor Olivari.
approval to appoint Renee Garcia as Community Development Director.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Romero?
Nope.
Counselor Casey?
Madam Mayor, may I explain my vote?
I don't know if she can at this point in time, because we discussed it in executive, can she?
I'm not going to talk about executive
No,
session.
no,
I'm
just,
going
no,
to
no.
talk about
Let me talk to
explaining
Carlina.
my vote.
Could you please stand up?
Go ahead. and
Is it okay?
Make your
Okay.
vote. And then
I would like to explain it before I cast it.
it's roll call for voting. So I guess
Exactly.
To the extent that your explanation is going to be voted.
So are
So
you
yes
saying
or
yes
no?
or no?
I'm saying go ahead and explain your.
Okay. I would like to explain my vote because I would like the applicant to know that my vote does not reflect on her personally at all. It reflects my strong disapproval of the manner in which the process was done. I don't approve of it. I don't like it. And that's my personal opinion.
Again, that was part of executive session discussion.
I did not say anything that was said in there. I am voicing my personal opinion.
And you voiced it in executive in the same manner.
No, I did not.
Yes, you did. Continue.
And so I am going to vote no for that reason and that reason only.
Okay.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Olivari Jr., a second by Counselor Howell. Madam Mayor, you have a time?
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Yes.
Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Ms. Garcia, would you please come up here? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Would you give the council, would you shake your hands and thank you?
Councilman Whitney, thank you for your confidence in me. I plan to serve the community and the youth council and the mayor as best as I can.
Thank you.
Thank you for your vote of confidence, Councilman Howell. I appreciate it. Thank you. I hope to prove myself to you.
Oh, I know you will. You don't have to.
Because I know. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And again, thank you
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Again, thank you, Randy. Okay, Councilor's report. Councilor Romero.
The only thing, I got some things that came up to me done with the South Pacific light pole. Richard, have you noticed the sidewalk on that in South Pacific?
Whereabouts?
Where they fix that light pole?
I haven't noticed.
There's been guys running in the morning and falling in there.
Okay, where,
On South Pacific,
more or less by what address?
from the little park where it used to be a school before, right across the street.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Now there's a hole, no sidewalk. That's it.
Is that it? Thank you. Councilor Casey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have several things that I would like to talk about a little bit. One is the signage that that I requested, inquired about 2 months ago on the use of Jake brakes and the semis not being allowed on 7th and 8th Streets. And I was told that we were waiting to get the language from the Highway Department. Has that been done, or what is the status of those signs?
Yeah, I think Chief Montano had talked to the traffic engineer from the Highway Department, and she was supposed to submit something to us.
Okay, because people are still calling me complaining about that. Thank you. The other one is, I've had several people call me up and say that they have come to Community Development Department to request building permits as they have been sent to Santa Fe. And I'd like to know why that's happening. If anybody can answer.
Maria.
Officer Casey, the reason we're being sent to Santa Fe, again, is because we no longer have a building inspector here at the city of Las Vegas as of December. So we have an agreement with the state that we give up zoning approval for building permits here, and then we send them to CID in Santa Fe or Albuquerque, and they issue the permits, and they come and do the inspections. And the inspectors come in, I think, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or as often as they need be, as called for whatever they need to be done.
Is there any way that community development can call Santa Fe so that people don't have to drive all the way over there, or?
Actually, I'm trying to find out if there's a way, some of this elderly people, that we can expedite them and they can pay, because they can pay online. I'm not sure, I haven't gotten a call back from CID yet, if there's something that we can do for them. I hate to send them to Santa Fe, but, I mean, unless we can fax them or open an account or something to help them through our office, so they can pay online. I'm not sure what else we can do. I'm trying to find out from Santa Fe what is it we can do.
Okay.
And I'm still waiting for an answer to see what we can do.
Okay, thank you very much. My next item is 644 Rio Arriba, and has that been taken care of? That was Yolanda Cruz's parents' home. The curb was painted, but was the issue resolved?
Yeah, they went back out there and they repainted the area, and it has been resolved.
Thank you. And I had several parents kind of corner me at Walmart. They were very concerned that there was no yaffle and that they were told that there was no interest, but 4 teams from Las Vegas are driving all the way to Santa Fe to participate in yaffle there. And so I see that as a loss of revenue for us, an annoyance and a hassle and an expense for people to take their children all the way to Santa Fe so that they can participate in yaffle. And I'm wondering if the same thing is going to happen with Yabble.
No.
Because, we hardly have anything going on for the kids as it is. And then when we're telling them, oh, well, you know, nobody is interested, we're not gonna do it, and they have to drive 68 miles to take their kids to play basketball or football,
Well,
that's a problem.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, the norm today are traveling teams. So coaches recruit from our kids, they put together teams and they travel to Santa Fe. A lot of those teams are pretty well, they got 15 kids per team, but that's what they're doing. The same thing they're doing in Little League. You're seeing a decrease in participation in Little League because a lot of the coaches are taking their kids on travel. It's called a travel league. And I think Councilman Yolovary will agree to that, but that's where we're losing a lot of our interests. We did try to start a flag football program, and that didn't turn out well. But I did see dwindling probably for the last 5 years of that YAFL program. And they are just not participating in that. So there are a couple of parents that don't have YAFL, YAFL for them to play. But a lot of those teams are traveling teams. These coaches pick them for that reason. I did meet with Anne Marie Villegas. She runs the league in Santa Fe. Pam and I met with her to talk about establishing a league in Vegas, and she's going to help us put together a northern league that'll include Mora, the Valley, Santa Rosa, and Taos and Raton. So she's committed to helping us reestablish that for us.
And also, I want to state that the youth committee, who's supposed to be active, we're having some difficulty with some of the members, which I will also be replacing because they're just not showing up. Well, I think one member from the youth committee.
So the YABL is going to be successful. I don't see that ever going away. There's a lot of interest for that.
I have one more item. I want to report that I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to do a ride-along with a police officer. And it was very eye-opening for me. It was extremely, I don't know how to say it. I felt honored to be able to do the ride-along because I felt that I was learning from the officer that I rode with, and I rode with Sergeant Mike Lopez, and he was extremely professional. What I learned during my afternoon that I spent with him on patrol was that our police officers, not just Sergeant Lopez, but all the other officers that we came in contact with, know the city really well. They know where the trouble spots are. They patrol those spots regularly and watch out. And I learned also that I thought I was observant, but I tell you what, our police officers are like, they see things that I was like, whoa, I didn't even see that, you know. And they had a bolo out on someone that had committed a crime at one of the stores, and Sergeant Lopez was able to identify the vehicle. Just he could see it and know right away if it was them or not. Every person that we talked to was very respectful of the police and thanked them for the service to the community. I saw Sergeant Lopez deal with a very troubled young woman who slashed her wrists, and he was sensitive to the situation. He was very kind. She had been reluctant to speak to anybody until he got there, and he knelt next to her and talked to her and was able to help her understand the importance of going to the hospital and to get assistance. And so I was very, very impressed with the time that I spent there. And I just cannot tell you enough how safe I felt, because people, when I told them that I had gone on a ride along, they said, "That's dangerous, Laura, what are you doing?" And I said, you know what, I felt so safe because I know that these men and women are extra professional, they're careful, they know what they're doing, they're well-trained, they're sensitive to the needs of the community, and I am just very, very happy that I had the opportunity to do that. And I'm going to request of the chief that he allows me to do that again at a different time, a different shift, maybe in the evening or a weekend, because I would like to see how things go then too. So I want to thank the chief, and I want to thank Sergeant Lopez for allowing me and to ask questions, and he was still listening to me talking here, listening to the radio as things were coming in, responding to people, I was just really impressed. So thank you, Chief, for allowing me to do that, and please extend my thank you to Sergeant Lopez. That's all, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to make a motion. And I want to make a motion to hold a special meeting on Monday, the 25th of September at 6 p.m. And the purpose will be to approve or disapprove a special audit by the State Auditor's Office to include all findings of the special audit be shared with the Office of the State Auditors and also the Office of the State Attorney General. I will call the State Auditor's Office tomorrow to see if they can do a presentation to us in regarding the special audits.
Is that audit for every department?
For the concerns that we are going to be listing.
So you're actually, you can't make a motion at this point in time, but you can make a request, I believe.
I checked with the Municipal League, and they said that I can make a motion.
At this point?
At the councilor's reports, yes.
My understanding, Madam Mayor, was that from prior council, or Donnell Smith, when she was acting, that it was discussed that a special meeting, a motion for a special meeting was something that could be made in the council reports, and that's, I defer to her opinion and her research on that. I'm not exactly clear on the motion
Exactly.
itself. Maybe it bears
Because
repeating.
first of all, if you're requesting that this individual are present, we'd have to find out if they are willing to participate in that meeting.
And that's why I said I will call the State Auditor's
Okay.
Office to confirm
So
that.
I would probably confirm if they're willing to participate first and if they'll be available on that day
Well,
before we set an actual date.
No, I think that without the presentation, I still would want to have the special meeting so we can vote on it, to whether we approve or disapprove the special audit.
I second the motion.
Corina, could you?
I don't know what a special audit is enough to know if it's a specific, if the motion itself has the specificity required, or if you would,
I have been asking throughout the year to see if we can have a forensic audit. And the regular audit company that was here, I even asked them, they said they don't do forensic audits. So I'd like to me, forensic audit is to really review our budgets and our departments to see exactly where we stand financially.
Question, Anne-Marie, wait a minute. Anne-Marie, isn't it the same company that we hire? They take this report to the state auditors. Is that correct? So they're going to be, discussing pretty much and essentially the same report that you received.
Fine, but I'd like to have a special audit done by the state auditor's office. And I believe that my motion has been seconded.
Second.
But I'd still like to hear from Anne Marie.
Yeah, please.
The auditors will actually be here on Monday morning, I believe, to continue with the audit process for 2017. I don't know if there is anything that merits their discussion or maybe possibly their discussion with the state auditor. Usually what happens is the state auditor will refer any issues or any concerns that anyone may have over to the regular, the auditors of record. But that's what I know, is that they will refer those issues over to the regular.
Okay.
May I clarify?
Madam Mayor, speaking from prior experience, when I was superintendent in Hondo, I requested a special audit from the state auditor's office. And the process that they used was they had the school board vote for the special audit. And then after the school board said, yes, we want a special audit, I contacted the state auditor's office and they told me that they would prepare the scope of work for an independent auditor, not the same auditor that does the audit.
Okay, so
that
then
did
who
the audit
pays for the
school.
audit? That's the question.
Under state law, when the state auditor's office is contacted, the entity that is making the request pays for it, and that is required by law. And there's no question, you just have to find the money wherever. And so that's what I had to do when I was superintendent at that time. They got an independent auditor that came in and audited everything and got everything straightened out so that we could figure out where we were, because the budget and the books and the record keeping were not in good standing at that time when I took over that school. And but that's the process that they use. So if, we're, Councilor Howell
Okay, well,
is-
there's a motion, there's a second.
Like to,
There may be an issue with notice on that, in terms
Exactly.
of getting a publication for a special meeting, which
3 days.
hopefully should have 72 hours with optics publication, I'm not sure.
we will get that to you, Mr. Brooks. Call for the question?
I have a motion by Councilor Howell to call for a special meeting on Monday, the 25th of September, for approval of a special audit by the State Auditor's Office. I have a second by Councilor Casey.
Does there have to be clarification as to what audit? I mean, what are you asking for?
I'm deferring to the experience I've heard
The-
recounted here, but it
What-
sounds as though
when-
the request
when
can
a-
be made with specificity, is
When
that?
the governing
The bottom line
body,
is that you wanted for this last year.
Yeah, they can only do
What do you?
they can only do for this
the
last
previous.
year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, so there is a motion and a public.
Second, Councilor Romero,
Yes.
Councilor Casey,
Yes.
Councilor Howell.
Before I make my vote, please make sure it's specified that the results of the audit be shared with the state auditor's office and also the attorney general's office. Please. And my vote is yes.
Councilor Ulibarri Jr.
No.
I have a motion by Councilor Howell, a second by Councilor Casey. Madam Mayor, motion to
Thank you very much. Okay.
And I will also, please, if I may, I will also get with the city clerk to get the form so we can request a special meeting. I guess there's a special meeting form. Is that correct?
And I believe that You just did that one.
You just did that.
With the majority of the
Yeah, it's
council.
already
This is,
voted on.
this is all,
it.
okay, good,
Okay, she'll take care of that.
okay,
Okay,
thank you.
Counselor Ray.
Yes, I would like a little more police protection at the west side when we're having baseball games at night. Vehicles are just running stop signs. There's vehicles that are running down Salazar, parking in the back side of the National at night. You know, once the games are over, you just see those speeding cars going back and forth. I haven't seen none of the police department up there. A few times that I've been, I'm real close to the biggest field, and there's no police protection in those days out there. And another thing, I just want to thank all the executives and all the city employees, all the hard work they've done, all from the line for all they've done for us. That's it.
Thank you. No need for executive. Need a motion to adjourn?
I have one more question.
See.
I got several constituents talking to me about, they come in, they want to talk to you, you're not here. Richard's too busy. What is it that they don't let people talk to the city manager?
I don't know what's going on, David, but there was a couple of people that confronted me about that, and I checked with my administrative assistant, and they did try to schedule them. And I tried to call them, but they
You know,
did not
a
answer.
lot of times they say, well, you can talk to me. One of the girls that's out there in the office. And they said, no, we want to talk personal to Richard. He can't now. Several times
Well,
now.
maybe he's in meetings, I don't know.
I'm in meetings
I
all
don't-
day, Mayor.
You'd have to give us an exact time to see,
Well,
so
I
we can
think
check it
what we
with his
need to
schedule.
do is set him a time where he can talk to people.
Well, they do.
They do.
They do set up appointments.
Also, you have an hourly.
They set up appointments for that person that came in that did not have an appointment. They set up an appointment to talk to me.
Okay.
I think what Councilor Romero, though, was suggesting, and I think it's a really good idea, is to have a set time within the
Of
week.
certain days.
Yeah. And say like on Mondays and Wednesdays, I can meet with people from 1 to 2:30 or whatever. And then work the rest of your schedule around those times and schedule everybody in. That way people know when they can come and see you. You can put it in the paper.
But see, his schedule is not.
I know it's not 8 to 5.
Exactly, and the thing is that there are things that come up, and then there's emergencies that come up. So, you know, you have to adjust those regardless.
We can still do that, but I'm saying that people knew that.
Yeah, we don't turn around anybody. We set up an appointment. If they don't have one, we set one up, and then we meet with them.
I've had experience in that, and what, like, I tell my constituents is to call Jolene, and she makes the appointment for the manager.
Yep.
And the manager, I even go with that constituents to meet with him, so.
Okay. We need a motion for adjournment.
Madam Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Howell? Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Lee Jr.? Yes. Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.
I'm giving this the concerns that I have to the state audit office and get their feedback on how this is done.
Correct. So, motion by Councilman Ulibarri, and second by Counselor Howell. And those who vote yes. That was, yes, so there was a motion by Howell, a second by Casey. The only one that voted no.
Well, actually, Public Works also.
Yeah, but I think